If you do not understand where your money is leaking, why prices keep rising, why banks seem to win no matter what, and why some people get richer even when they're asleep, then staying broke will not feel like bad luck. It will feel like life. And that is exactly why this matters, because most people are not losing money only from bad decisions. They're losing money because they never learn the financial concepts that quietly control almost every part of their life. Maybe this feels familiar. You get paid, and for one brief moment, you feel in control. Then rent hits, groceries hit, your card balance reminds you it still exists, a subscription renews that you forgot about, gas costs more than it did last month, and suddenly your paycheck looks less like income and more like a disappearing magic trick. You are working, but your money is somehow moving faster than you are. And the most frustrating part is that nobody ever sat you down and explained how money works in real life. They told you to work hard, they told you to save, they told you to be responsible, but they did not explain the system. Here is the pattern interrupt that changes everything. Being broke is not always about how much money you make. Very often, it is about how many financial concepts are making decisions for you before you make decisions for yourself. That is why financial literacy matters so much. Once you understand the rules, your money stops feeling like a mystery and starts feeling like a tool. This is where personal finance basics stop being boring and start becoming powerful. Let's start with taxes, because almost everyone complains about them, but very few people actually understand them. Most people think taxes are just money taken away from them. That is true on the surface, but it's incomplete. Taxes are more like the cover charge for living inside an organized society. Roads, schools, emergency services, public systems, and government operations do not appear out of thin air. Taxes help fund them. The real problem is not that taxes exist. The real problem is that many people never learn the difference between gross income and net income. They celebrate the wrong number. They earn $50,000 a year and imagine freedom, but their real life runs on what arrives after taxes, after deductions, after insurance, after everything else. It's like being handed a full shopping cart on a screen and then discovering half the items were only display models. The takeaway is simple. If you want better money management, never build your life around the number before taxes. Build it around what you actually keep. Now let's talk about banks and how they work, because this is one of the biggest beginner finance guide moments you can have. A bank is not a giant safe that lovingly protects your money for free. A bank is a business. When you deposit money, the bank does not place it in a velvet box with your name on it. Your deposit becomes part of a larger pool that the bank uses to make loans and generate profit, while still maintaining required reserves and managing risk. In simple terms, the bank borrows from you cheaply and lends to someone else at a higher price. That spread is part of how banks make money. So when you see your savings account paying almost nothing while someone else is paying a much higher rate on a credit card or loan, that gap is not random. That gap is the business model. Think of the bank less like a storage locker and more like an airport runway. Money lands there briefly, gets redirected, and every takeoff creates fees, interest, or both. The payoff here is powerful. Once you understand that banks are businesses, not charities, you stop assuming the bank's default option is automatically the smartest option for you. That leads perfectly into interest, which might be the most important invisible force in personal finance basics. Simple interest is straightforward. It's interest earned only on the original amount. If you land $100 at a simple 10% annual rate, you earn $10 a year based only on that first $100. Clean, predictable, easy. Compound interest is different. Compound interest means you earn interest on your original money and on the interest already added. In other words, your money starts growing extra branches, and those branches start growing branches of their own. It's less like a straight line and more like a rumor in a crowded room. At first, it spreads slowly, then suddenly it seems to be everywhere. This is why compound interest can build wealth if it works for you and drain wealth if it works against you through debt. A savings account, retirement account, or long-term investing strategy can benefit from compounding. A high-interest credit card can weaponize that same force against you. The mini payoff is this. Every time you borrow, ask, am I hiring compound interest to help me or to hunt me? That one question can improve your financial planning immediately. Now we need to talk about inflation, because inflation is one of the quietest reasons people feel stuck. Inflation means prices rise over time, which also means the purchasing power of your money falls over time. The number in your bank account can stay the same while its real-world strength gets weaker. It is like owning a backpack that looks the same every year but somehow fits fewer groceries every month. Nothing about the bag changed, the world around it did. This is why leaving money sitting still for too long can be costly. Safety matters, yes, but there is a difference between preserving dollars and preserving buying power. Inflation is why $10 used to feel like a useful amount and now often feels like an apology. The smart takeaway is that wealth building is not just about stacking cash, it's about making sure your money can keep up with reality. And when inflation, weak business activity, falling demand, layoffs, and general fear begin spreading across an economy, people start using a word that makes everyone tense: recession. A recession is not simply 2 bad months or one scary headline. In broad terms, it is a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy that lasts more than a few months. During a recession, companies may hire less, spend less, and invest less. Consumers pull back too. Confidence drops. Opportunities feel smaller. If a healthy economy is like a city full of lit windows at night, a recession is when more and more of those windows go dark at the same time. The reason this matters to you is not to make you afraid, it is to prepare you. Recessions reveal whether your money habits were built on solid ground or on good moods. An emergency fund, low-interest debt, smart budgeting, and adaptable skills matter even more when the economy cools down. The mini payoff is this: financial independence is not just about growing fast when times are good, it's about staying steady when times are hard. Now let's make this personal with credit scores, because this is where many adults first discover that money has a memory. A credit score is basically a trust score, built from your borrowing behavior. It helps lenders estimate how likely you are to repay what you owe. Your payment history, how much of your available credit you use, the age of your accounts, your mix of credit types, and how often you apply for new credit can all affect it. Think of your credit score like the trail of footprints you leave on a fresh floor. You may not remember every step, but the path is still there for others to study. A missed payment says one thing. Consistent on-time payments say another. Maxing out cards says one thing. Keeping balances manageable says another. And this matters because a stronger credit profile can affect borrowing costs, housing options, insurance pricing in some places, and overall flexibility. The immediate takeaway is simple. A credit score is not a measure of your worth as a human being, but it is a measure of how expensive your financial life can become if you ignore it. That brings us to currency and how money works, which sounds abstract until you realize this is the foundation of everything. Money is not valuable because paper is magical or because numbers on a screen are sacred. Money works because people agree it works. Currency is a shared system of trust, exchange, and record-keeping. It helps society avoid the chaos of direct trade. Instead of exchanging shoes for eggs and eggs for plumbing and plumbing for a haircut, money becomes the common language. In a modern economy, money includes physical cash and balances in bank accounts that people and businesses use to make payments and store short-term value. It's less like treasure and more like permission. It's a universal access card that society has agreed to recognize. Once you understand that, your money mindset changes. You stop worshiping money as the final goal and start seeing it as a stored choice. That's a huge leap in financial knowledge because it shifts you from chasing numbers to directing options. Now let's talk about investing for beginners, because this is the part people either overcomplicate or avoid completely. Investing simply means placing money into assets that you expect to grow in value or produce income over time. Stocks represent ownership in a company. If the business grows, your share may become more valuable, and some companies may also pay dividends. Bonds are closer to loans. You lend money to a government or company, and in return, you receive interest payments and your principal back at maturity, assuming things go as planned. Real estate can create value through rent, price appreciation, or both.
Funds, like mutual funds or exchange-traded funds, let you buy a basket of investments at once instead of betting everything on one pick. Here's a better analogy than the usual ones. Imagine building a music playlist for your financial future. A single song is one song. It might be amazing, or it might be terrible. A fund is a full playlist. It smooths out the experience because you're not relying on one track to carry the whole mood. The mini payoff here is that investing is not reserved for geniuses in expensive suits. It's a methodical way to let your money do some of the work, especially when combined with long-term investing, patience, and consistent contributions.
But even that is not the deepest lesson. The deeper lesson is value and wealth creation. Wealth is not just having money. Wealth is having ownership, cash flow, useful skills, and assets that continue producing value after the original effort is done. This is why financial freedom does not come only from earning more. It comes from becoming more valuable and then capturing part of that value in scalable ways. If you solve a problem once for one person, that is income. If you solve a problem once in a way that helps 10,000 people, that can become wealth. A great product, a useful business, a well-run investment portfolio, intellectual property, a rental property, a digital asset, a system that creates passive income responsibly over time, these are all forms of value turned into leverage. Money tends to move toward usefulness. It is like heat finding the coldest part of a room. If you become someone who reduces friction, improves convenience, saves time, lowers risk, or creates something people genuinely want, you become harder for the market to ignore. The payoff is immediate and empowering. If you want to know how to build wealth, stop asking only, how can I make more money? And start asking, what value can I create, own, or multiply? And then there is time, the most overlooked part of wealth building. Most people treat time like background wallpaper, but in finance, time is a hidden business partner. It can rescue small, consistent actions and turn them into serious results. This is why smart money habits matter more than dramatic bursts of motivation. Budgeting for 1 month will not change your life. Budgeting for years might. Investing $100 once is fine. Investing regularly for a decade is a different story. Learning one financial concept today will not instantly make you rich, but financial education practiced over time can completely change your direction. Time is like having a quiet employee who works every night while you sleep, but only if you give that employee something useful to do. If you feed time debt, delay, and financial confusion, it expands the damage. If you feed time into investing, financial planning, skill growth, and disciplined habits, it expands the upside. That is the real engine behind financial independence. So here's the big insight, the one that ties all of this together. Money is not random. It is a system. Taxes shape what you keep. Banks shape how money moves. Interest shapes whether money grows or drains. Inflation shapes what your money can buy. Recessions test your stability. Credit scores shape the cost of borrowing. Currency works because people trust it. Investing turns money into productive assets. Value creation attracts income. Time multiplies whatever pattern you repeat. In other words, wealth building is not about one lucky break. It's about understanding the machine well enough to stop standing in the gears and start using the controls. And that might be the most life-changing part of financial literacy. The goal is not to become obsessed with money. The goal is to stop being controlled by confusion. Once you understand these financial concepts, you begin to see why some people stay trapped even while working hard, and why others slowly build options, margin, and peace. They are not playing a different game. They just learned the rules earlier, and now you are learning them too. So if this gave you a clearer beginner finance guide to how money works, if it made personal finance basics feel less intimidating and more practical, and if it helped you feel one step closer to financial freedom, like, share the video, and stick around. There's a lot more to learn. But the best part is this: once financial knowledge clicks, you don't look at money the same way again. You start seeing opportunities, risks, patterns, and choices that were invisible before. And that's how people stop surviving on money and start directing it.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you're the first to know when a new video comes out. Drop your comments and questions below. Your comments and questions might inspire someone else in this community. Have an amazing day. Keep learning, keep growing financially, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.